Yo, what is up, y'all? Mental Muscle Coach here. You guys responded to the survey, so I got you with the answer. This video is all about what studying sociopaths has taught me about humans that you absolutely must know. Now, it absolutely goes without saying that we as a society are super interested in people with abnormal psychology, people who think and behave and process things in a way that is substantially different than how we do. And so it's for that reason that we tend to be drawn towards, or at least interested in, pathology. People with diagnosed things like psychopathy or sociopathy. And so for that reason, I knew we needed to drop this video. But on top of that, one of the most important things that I have found in studying, people with certain pathologies and studying people with psychopathy, sociopathy, what have you, and narcissists, it's that when we come to study these people, we learn so much about ourselves. We learn so much about our tendencies and propensities. We learn about the people around us, but we also learn about, the potential types of people that we can encounter in life that we need to be careful about. So many people are interacting with narcissists, for example, and it's effing up their life in ways that you can't even imagine, and yet they haven't a clue because they don't realize to what extent they're being manipulated. And so for all of these reasons, let's get it, y'all. So what is the scoop about sociopaths? Well, in order for us to understand sociopaths, it's important that we at least reference the other two groups of people that tend to be connected with them, that we often speak about interchangeably, and that's highly incorrect. And those other two groups of people are psychopaths and narcissists. And so here's something that we need to understand. All psychopaths are narcissists, but all narcissists are not psychopaths. So narcissism is a disorder of regulating self-esteem. It's accompanied with this grandiosity where there's this need to be seen and kind of have this grandiose personality and way of going about things. There's an arrogance associated with narcissism, immensely so. The main issue with narcissists, of course, is that they lack empathy. However, the other key element is that while they do feel some level of guilt, not really, they do feel a little bit, the main thing is that they will experience shame. Even though they lack empathy, they will still feel shame when they do something wrong. But it's not for the reason that, oh, they genuinely realize the error in their ways. What's up, Lola? It's the fact that shame itself is an external feeling. We feel shame as a result of how others are perceiving us. And so since they have a disorder of regulating self-esteem, it makes sense that they really, really care how people see them. So they will feel shame even though they won't feel that much guilt. So that's narcissists. So as we already covered, all psychopaths are narcissists. And so as a result, we know that they have all of these narcissistic tendencies. But what constitutes a psychopath apart from a narcissist? Well, here's the interesting part. This is pretty dope. Psychopaths actually have a different autonomic nervous system than we do. You see, within the autonomic nervous system houses the sympathetic nervous system, which is necessary for our fight or flight response. And so they don't experience the same fight or flight. Let's say, for example, they're about to go ask that girl out on a date. They don't feel that same jitteriness, that same, increased heart rate, the same sweaty palms, the same tunnel vision that we get when that stress response is being activated. They don't feel it in the same way. They could literally be driving with a dead body in the back of their car and get pulled over by a cop, and they're cool as a cucumber, and they'll be looking at the officer like, why did you pull me over? Do you understand that this isn't exactly legal what you've done? I'm going to have to call my lawyer. Like, they'll literally turn it on them and be that manipulative and that focused. That's also why so many psychopaths are able to beat lie detector tests, because those lie detector tests are looking at their internal response as a result of their sympathetic nervous system, and because theirs doesn't have that same response, they don't feel anything. They're Gucci. So they didn't even experience stress in the same way we do. Now that results in a absolute lack of empathy, and that also results in an absolute lack of guilt or shame. When they make a mistake, when they do something fucked up, they don't see things in that regard. It's just like, all right, whatever. I need $100. Oh, that old lady has $200 in her bag. All right, I'll go kill her and take her money. Like, whatever. They understand consequences. They understand, things that that could happen as a result of their actions. I mean, very much so. Psychopaths are typically extremely intelligent, extremely likable, extremely interesting, and able to captivate people in a way where they can gain trust. And they have the ability to socially be a butterfly, if you will. And this is something that we see so often, like people like Ted Bundy, the serial killer that was in Gainesville. I went to UF, go Gators. You know, when we see that, it's because of that tendency where they have that high intelligence. They have that ability to understand what's going on, so they very much do. But it's simply that there is an immense understanding, but they lack the emotional element. They lack the moral or ethical elements there. And that's what makes them dangerous. So all right. I know I made a video where I titled it talking about sociopaths, and I've been talking about every other MFer except sociopath. This is where it comes to a head, okay? We good. What's the major difference between a sociopath and a psychopath? Psychopaths are born and sociopaths are made. Now, there are different bodies of thought. There are, different beliefs as it relates to differences of sociopaths and psychopaths. But the main thing is this lack of empathy, this lack of shame or guilt, this lack of ethics and an extreme level of self-subservience or self-serving mentality, if you will. All of that is there. But the psychopath, they're born with this. This is something that they come into the world with, a wiring. It's perhaps genetic. They're not 100% sure yet. But when it comes to the sociopath, this is made. Think about the person that is raised in a mafia crime family and they end up having to do really effed up stuff. I remember hearing about this particular mafia family where this guy became the head of the family. But when he was a kid, they used to have him torture animals and things like that just to harden his mindset, because we got to understand that they can adorn these psychopathic tendencies as a sociopath because the brain has neuroplasticity. The brain can change. So they can adorn this ability that psychopaths have to not have that same physiological response. I mean, they may have a little more guilt or shame. They may not have their system, their stress response completely shut off like a psychopath would, but they gain that ability. And so what is it that we can take from understanding these people? People who are literally trained to adorn this psychopathic tendency of not having a moral ethic, not worrying about other people, only focusing on their own personal benefit and moving forward in life in this completely arrogant, completely destructive way. The lesson that we can take from sociopaths and how they function is this. According to Dr. Ramani Durvasula, PhD, who has studied this concept of narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, all of this. She's an absolute well-known PhD of psychology, and this is her focus therapeutically. What she said is, if I were to write a book on narcissism and sociopathy, it would be a how-to guide in the new world order of how to be successful and essentially rise to the top of the ladder in the way the world is moving. Now, what did she mean by that? She's saying that this removal, or rather this deprioritization of ethics, this deprioritization of morals, and this elevation of self-focus that looks less at emotion, that looks less at empathy, and focuses more on the material, that focuses more on the grandiose, that focuses more on the self-serving, individualistic mindset that we tend to move towards, and we are moving towards, especially right now in 2020. When we see all this division, when we see all these issues going on, we are moving towards a mindset that is conducive to that of sociopathy, where we're becoming less and less aware of one another and more focused on ourselves. Sociopaths, as well as psychopaths, see the world as something to be leveraged for their own personal gain, benefit, and satisfaction. Now, how does that sound different than how we've been moving? How does that sound different from the way we, particularly us in the US, have been perceiving things when it comes to COVID, when it comes to politics, when it comes to each other? We got to change shit, because pathology is starting to become a lot less uncommon, starting to become more like a representation of us. I love you guys. Mental Muscle Coach out. Think about this, y'all. Like, share, and spread the word. Peace.